Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of the Switch It podcast, the series where myself and Bailey talk everything football. How are you feeling after the Brentford game, Bailey?
I'm buzzing, to be fair. What a result in the end. Darwin Núñez. Unbelievable. 2 goals in 2 minutes in added time. I don't think any Liverpool fan was expecting 2 goals. I think both teams could have scored a goal at some point in the game. It was fairly end to end all game, and it was very open.
Yeah.
But Darwin Núñez,
I did say,
is he coming good for us? I'd like to see it.
I did say playing Brentford was unpredictable.
Exactly, yeah. And I really hope that Darwin Núñez is gonna use this game especially as a bit of a confidence booster, and he comes back and he's in top goal scoring form, which he proved that he can do yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, what would you? How many games is left for us? Would you do including cup games? Like maybe there's about I'd say 16 Prem games.
Yeah, there's another 25 games, 30 games.
25.
Really. Yeah.
How many goals would you say is good for Núñez, do you think?
If he got 10, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah. Just something for him to go on to for next season, I think.
If he's scoring a goal, every other game, most appearances, at least 1 in 2, that'd be good. Because right now it's got, I think before this game he hadn't scored a goal since like November last year. So
yeah,
2 months.
Yeah, I think the thing is with him is just putting away the chances that he should be putting away, like the 2 chances he got against Brentford. That was what was so surprising, that he was able to put them away.
And it was slightly tricky for him as well, because he hadn't been given the starting opportunities that he potentially wanted, because Gakpo and Diaz were making the opportunity of standing in as a standing striker, because Núñez was particularly poor in most fixtures, and Jota was injured. But in my opinion, Jota's better off the bench. But maybe Slot might see something out of that game with Núñez and potentially give him a start against Lille. And if he repeats what he did, goal scoring wise, then you never know. We might see Núñez starting more games for Liverpool in bigger games.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, will Jota ever be injury free?
No.
That's where you think Núñez, all he's really got is Diaz. Chiesa's not really in the team, so he's got the opportunity there. He just needs to put away the chances he should be putting away, because other than the sitters he misses, his overall game, it's good. He works hard, he makes good runs, his positioning's good. You can see that by the amount of chances he gets.
Yeah,
it's just the composure, which isn't easy in the Premier League because of all the talk, on social media. And he's human. He'll see that.
Yeah, definitely, and there's no doubt about it. All of these Liverpool players and any football player that plays professionally in the Premier League and Champions League, etc., etc., they're all very finely tuned athletes. So when these little twinges and little knocks that they pick up and potentially miss the odd game in lower league football, a lot of the time players would actually just play through these slight injuries, because it doesn't really matter in the context of their games. But because Liverpool play such important fixtures, and just a slight knock might mean that one player is better than another to start a game or play minutes in a game.
Yeah.
I think in particular for Diogo Jota, there's no doubt about it, he is an unbelievable player for Liverpool. But when he's picking up the odd knock, it feels like it's slightly more acceptable for him to be picking up a knock and taking a game out because of his experience and his age in comparison to some other players, than if Núñez got injured and missed a load of games. Because, to be fair to Núñez, he barely misses any games. He's never injured. He's a tough player. And he's a handful, isn't he?
Yeah, the only ones he's really missed is through suspension.
Exactly, yeah, and that's just because he can get a bit hot-headed at times. But you know, I, as a Liverpool fan, I really would like to see Núñez transform into an out-and-out number 9 and be there, and be starting like Salah does every game. And there's no question about it. If it's a big game, Núñez is starting. He wants to be the first choice striker, because right now
Yeah,
we don't really have a first choice striker. There's just 3 players who could all start. There's Núñez, Gakpo, Diaz, and obviously Jota as well. But Diaz and Gakpo have been starting as striker, so it's 4 players actually. They've been
yeah. I
rotating
do. I
starting as
do want to.
striker.
Do want to ask you
Yeah.
something, because I wasn't able to watch this game, and you obviously did.
Yeah.
And obviously, looking at my phone, it looked like it was going to pan out to be another draw.
Yeah.
But obviously, we won. Do you actually see that as a convincing result?
In the grand context of things, I think Liverpool had 37 shots, across the whole game, and I know only 9 of them were on target. But when you look at that in comparison to Brentford's 13 shots, then it it means that, yeah, technically it should be a 2-0 result. The
Yeah, I
result
mean,
the
what I
result
would say,
the result obviously favours the stats in the sense that Liverpool were dominating, and they did outweigh Brentford in the final third. So a 2-0 scoreline in the end. I think obviously it was in added time right at the end, but it does kind of justify the type of game that it was, because it didn't look like a 0-0 game. There was that many goal scoring opportunities from both sides.
yeah, what I would say is, I think the clean sheet away against Brentford is very good, considering how many goals Brentford have scored this season at home.
Yeah.
A clean sheet away there is very good.
Yeah,
In my
definitely.
opinion.
And in terms of the clean sheet as well, the whole back line was brilliant against Brentford. It really kept a real structure to it, and part of that was the wing backs, for Liverpool. So we had Trent Alexander-Arnold and Kostas Tsimikas who started the game, which I think we predicted correctly in the lineup
Yeah,
predictor. And both of them in particular out of the back line, especially Trent, who gets a lot of criticism over his defending, I thought was brilliantly offensively and defensively, in that game, and they were brilliant. Trent was brilliant. He created a lot of chances. He created that first goal in extra time with a good assist across the box. He picked out Núñez, and even though it did look like a straightforward pass, he had to do it that quickly and have just the right amount of pace on so that Núñez couldn't think about it, because I do think that if Núñez thinks about these opportunities or has time, that's when he does kind of fumble it. And because the ball was fired into Núñez so quickly by Trent, I think Núñez didn't have any time to think about it. He stuck out a foot and passed it and lifted it into the net, so... But you see that across a lot of Núñez's opportunities. He has scored a fair amount of goals for Liverpool, but it's just they're spaced out quite far apart. And it's the goals when he doesn't have to think about them that he scores every time. If he doesn't have to think about it, he's brilliant. And obviously he has scored the odd worldie. He's scored quite a few goals from outside the box as well, but that's just rare occasions where he has thought about it. But when he's like one-on-one with a keeper, I can only think of one opportunity when he's actually, he's looked the one more calm and composed, and that was when we played away at Brentford last year, and he chipped the keeper when he was one-on-one. That's one of the only times when I feel like Darwin Núñez has been one-on-one with a keeper and genuinely looked the more favourite to score. That's the only time, but because every other time when he's had time to think about it, he usually misses. So I do hope that Núñez transforms into more of a striker with the aspects that potentially Erling Haaland does. Núñez will never get to the likes of Erling Haaland, but to have that goal scoring threat, and if he's one-on-one with the keeper, you want to see him being favourite to score and not the keeper to save, if you know what I mean.
yeah. Because the thing is, when you're watching your own team, and your striker's running through on goal, you know, like, obviously if it's your midfielder with the chance or your winger, you're always going to be 50-50, but when you see your striker running through on goal, you always want that confidence that they're going to put it away.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And you know, a lot of other teams, these top teams, have that assurance. You know, the likes of Newcastle have Isak. You know, he's brilliant goal scorer. City have Haaland. You know, they're going for a bit of a blip, but you can see what he's been able to do. And there's plenty of other teams. You know, Chelsea at the start of the season had Jackson, but obviously he's kind of dropped off a little bit as of late. But he was great. He was in great goal scoring form at the start of the season. You know, so
Yeah.
In terms of Liverpool, that's kind of the one aspect of the team that you would like to see potentially strengthened, and that brings on the question of, in January or summer this season, do Liverpool need a striker?
Do you not think like having like a false nine or a winger with like energy playing through the middle has worked better for Liverpool? Because our wingers, like we've always been, it's always been the combination of goals throughout the front three.
Yeah.
With three high energy players.
Yeah.
And there's some players that I could think of from other teams.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was rumoured Liverpool were going to sign Omar Marmoush, but City have beat us to that one. You know, they've tried to make some signings to sort their season out, but I think he was the one player. He plays for Eintracht Frankfurt, and City have just signed him, but he's a false nine winger type of player, similar to Jota almost, but obviously younger. And he has a lot of energy, and he plays in that central, but can drift into the wider roles. And he would have suited Liverpool perfectly, you know, if Salah did end up leaving. But obviously City have got to.
We don't sign as many.
There's obviously a few other potential signings, and there's one player in the list that we've put in our notes which I would like to mention, and that is Jamie Gittins from Dortmund, who we've recently been linked with. You know, he suits the Liverpool. He suits the Liverpool, you know, way of playing. I don't know what you think about that, but
could he play through the middle? Do you think he could do that?
Well, for Dortmund, you've seen him play. You have seen him playing in that striker role, but he's an attacking player and seems to be able to play on all sides of the pitch and fill in for Dortmund where need be. And in terms of goal scoring ability, he's one of the players in the Bundesliga at the moment who, if one-on-one with the keeper, again, you'd favourite him over the keeper, you know.
Yeah, talking about false nines, there was a player that I've thought of, and I think he is on his way out of his club. But before he joined this club, he was the definition of a false nine, centre forward, not striker, not left winger, but centre forward, and that's Christopher Nkunku, who currently plays for Chelsea. But I think he'd be great in that role, pressing, running, a good combination of both.
Yeah, definitely. And another player there, just one last player, is John Duran. You know, he's been great for Villa, and off the bench especially, you can see the attacking abilities that he has. But for another team, potentially as a starting role, he could be a brilliant striker for any team. You know, in particular, he could be for Liverpool as well, you know.
Yeah, he's definitely too good to be a bench warmer and just coming off the bench, and you've seen that this season from him.
Yeah. So let's move on to the Bournemouth game, which you have a bit to talk about that.
Yeah, I was watching that game, and I could tell from after 5 minutes how it was going to pan out. Like even with their injuries, they absolutely blew Newcastle away. And it's crazy to think a team playing at home who have won 9 games in a row, and the team coming there. I mean, Bournemouth, they're on good form, but their only senior player on the bench was Jebison, who was 21. So all things just pointed to a solid Newcastle win.
Yeah.
And for Bournemouth to go there and win 4-1, Kluivert score a hat-trick of brilliant goals. I mean, it shows that they're in a position to go for a European spot this season.
Yeah. And definitely to go to a place like St James's Park, like you said as well, it's really tricky for any team, and you saw that when we visited Newcastle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Newcastle didn't look like a team who had just won 9 games in a row as well. They got run ragged by Bournemouth's 4 up front, the energy in midfield.
It was 1-1 in that game, if I remember rightly, for quite a long time. But Bournemouth ended up just whitewashing them in the second half.
Yeah, watching the game, I think it was a bit of a sucker punch for Bournemouth because they dominated the first part of the game. And then Newcastle, it's just a quick corner, simple header. It's a bit of a sucker punch.
Yeah, definitely.
But talking about Kluivert, obviously he scored another hat-trick. And there seems to be a lot of players sort of, last season and the seasons before, it's just been Haaland, Salah. But there's more players coming into that, that bracket of between 15, 10 to 20 goals that could push for that top goal scorer. And it brings a brilliant question is who will it be? Because it's always been so simple, like the seasons before.
Yeah, definitely. And I do think that Bournemouth have the ability to get a European spot. But I think even if they got to Conference League, they'd settle for that because they've not had European football in a very, very long time. As a club, they'd be more than happy with that kind of European football. As actually, I think the teams that play in the Conference League would be better suited to a team like Bournemouth, and Bournemouth would have a really good European campaign in the Conference League and could potentially win it. You never know. But in comparison, you see a team like Chelsea in the Conference League and they're beating teams like 8-0,
With a fully rotated squad as well, and
exactly,
it helps. Yeah. It helps keep players like in the rhythm who aren't starting the bigger Premier League games, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Looking at the top goal scorer, I'm thinking there's around 6 players, maybe 5, which is Chris Wood, Cole Palmer, Isaac Haaland, and Salah. And Burma's up there, but I'm not sure he's sort of at the level as Palmer, Isaac Haaland, and Salah.
No, it'll definitely be
maybe Chris Wood.
It'll be a team that finishes in the top 6, 7. That'll be top goal scorer, and the 3 right now that I'd be thinking of favoriting in particular would be Salah, Haaland, and Isak.
It's quite difficult to choose one at the minute.
I'd go for Salah. I think if Liverpool win the league, it'll be Salah. Definitely. I think Haaland might end up coming back into goal scoring form as the season progresses because City will be wanting to get a bit of a good run of form going. But I can't see them doing particularly well even after these new signings. I think these new signings aren't just going to walk into a City team and all of a sudden City are going to win 4 or 5-0 every week again. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
These teams are going to have to adapt and get used to the City way of playing. And they're going to be in a bit of a transition period, I think, until the end of the season. And it wouldn't surprise me if City are fighting for Champions League football in that around about that 4th, 5th space. That'll be their goal to finish the season in the top 4 now. I don't think they're going to win the league. It's impossible to catch up. It'd take a miracle, actually. It is what it'd take because...
we've said this. It'll definitely take a miracle.
Because both Liverpool and Arsenal... Well, I know Liverpool are 15 points ahead of City with a game in hand. But Arsenal are also about 10 points ahead, I think. 9 or 10 points. So, definitely I think it's going to be tricky for City to get back. But their target, I think, by the end of the season is going to be top 4.
Yeah, I think what will happen is I think it'll be come the last 5, 4, 3 games, it'll be between Haaland and Salah. And it'll be either one of them. I'm not too sure who. But I just think the likes of Chris Wood, Palmer, even Isak, they won't be there as much as them, like nearer to 25, 28 goals.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, moving on to the game on Tuesday night, people will look at this and think it's an easy game, but I was actually looking at something before. Lille are unbeaten in 21 games. They're third in their league, and they are 8th in the Champions League. Yeah. So they're basically just sitting on the border of automatic qualification. They go in to us with probably a bit of a rotated side, so they'll be fired up to continue that and go straight into the round of 16 after the group stage.
Yeah, definitely. And we've seen Lille in Ligue 1 have the ability to beat teams like PSG in the past, so by no means will they come into this game at Anfield and be almost in fear of Liverpool with the ability that Liverpool have. I think the last game they had in the Champions League was, the previous games have been against like the likes of Juventus, where they drew 1-1. They beat Atletico Madrid 3-1. They beat. So, shall we move on to our predicted lineup for Liverpool then in this game?
Yeah, let's talk more Liverpool. I think because there is a bit to talk about Liverpool for this game.
Yeah, definitely. In this game there's a lot of positions up for grabs if Slot does decide to rotate, which we'll talk about now. So the first position that we are going to talk about is goalkeeper. We've gone for Kelleher in our predicted lineup, but either keeper could end up playing between Alisson and Kelleher. Kelleher's definitely going to have the opportunities coming up in the next few weeks to play games for Liverpool, but you do see the opportunity there for him to start as keeper in this game, given that Liverpool are already qualified.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely. So, at right back, who have we gone for?
Well, right back, it's the same again. For a lot of positions, it's one or the other. I mean, just because I want to see maybe Conor Bradley get more games time, I've put Bradley into the predicted. But it could also be Trent for 70, and then Bradley comes on for the last 20.
Yeah.
But Bradley's reliable. He can play there, even in a tough game like this.
Yeah, definitely. And in other defensive positions as well, you could see the likes of Gerald Quansah end up playing, and either Van Dijk or Kanate. It's more likely to be Kanate get rotated or given a little bit of a rest in this game. So I think we've gone for Quansah and Van Dijk in the central positions. Robertson at left back. He brings that little bit of experience and leadership.
Tsimikas and Robertson are just sort of rotating every other game with each other, and it's working. To be fair, I think they're on the same sort of level.
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of the left back position.
Yeah, so if we move into midfield, we've gone with a player who has played better for Liverpool at centre back this season in Endo, but it could end up being, obviously, it could be the same middle three as against Brentford. So we've gone for Endo, Gravenberch and Szoboszlai, but that's what we predicted. It could be something completely different to that, as like we've mentioned in previous games, Slot's lineups are completely unpredictable. So up front we've gone for Núñez at striker. We think he's deservedly going to get that place after his performance against Brentford. I think he deserves a go up front, so we've gone for him. Obviously Salah, and then at left wing we've gone Cody Gakpo, but that's another player that's in the question. It could end up being Diaz, we don't know.
Yeah, I think the thing is with Salah and Gakpo are our two biggest, players in the forward line right now. I just think Slot maybe sees it as the more goals that they're getting throughout the season, the more confidence, they'll have in their own mind, because that's what the media talks, it's the goals, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
You saw
I
that with
totally
Nunes
agree,
on the weekend.
At Anfield, I favour Liverpool more than Lille, obviously. Brentford result as well. I think our confidence levels will be better than they were in the last few games. So I'm going for 3-0 to Liverpool in this one because I think Liverpool are definitely going to win. I don't see any pressure on us to lose, or but I think the team's slightly going to be a rotated squad. So yeah, 3-0 for me.
Yeah, I've gone for 3-1. I think they're a tough team, but what more sways me to Liverpool is Anfield Champions League night.
Yeah.
I think what Slot's going to be trying to do is he wants to keep that top spot, and he wants to have a strong team, a strong performance, a strong result, while also trying to give those players who aren't as fit as the likes of Van Dijk and Salah a bit of a rest. So, the likes of maybe Trent, Kanate, Tsimikas, Luis Diaz, like those sort of players a rest, but he'll play the ones who are 100% like Van Dijk, Salah, Gravenberch, Gakpo, to ensure we get that strong result to maintain top spot and finish the Champions League in top spot.
Well, yeah, without a doubt. And I think just for the confidence levels of the players as well, I think Slot's definitely going to want to go unbeaten in the Champions League as well. Wins are important for Liverpool, so if we string together a few results, it's definitely going to help in other fixtures, and obviously we've got Ipswich at the weekend as well. But I think in terms of Liverpool's season and the start of 2025, I think a win here is important, and I think we are going to have the confidence to obviously get that result. But we can't get too big-headed and go into this game thinking we're just going to, it's just going to be a walk in the park, because we've seen European nights at Anfield in the past, and the one I remember last year is Atalanta, where we went into that game thinking that we were just going to win, and then they put us in our place and won 3-0. So, I think a good level of complacency here is what Liverpool need, but I think they'll get the job done, and like I said, 3-0. In terms of the last lot of predictions, I think you got it spot on, didn't for 3-1 or 3-0. I can't remember what
3-1.
But so it's 3-2 to me anyway. I'm hoping that I can extend that lead, because otherwise it'll end up being a draw. We'll be back on level terms.
There was a lot to talk about in that episode. I feel like we got through a lot. There was some great games that happened on Saturday. And, there's going to be a lot more of this in the future. So if everyone wants to make sure they've subscribed and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any episodes. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in. And obviously, goodbye for now.